3 years ago, I was winning on paper, but losing everywhere else. The revenue and the team levels were up here, but my health was slowly declining. And I was still waking up every day wondering, what the fuck am I even building? And that is when I had the heart attack. So sad face there. So if I could go back and talk to the version of me around here, the one chasing speed over direction, chasing money over everything else. These are the 5 things I would tell myself so I could build $1 million dream business and life sooner. So there's 5 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I want you guys to take notes. 5. So the first thing is, what's important for me is direction over speed. I would have told my younger self, it's not about how quickly you get there, it's about making sure that wherever there is actually where you want to end up. If you don't know where you're going, it doesn't matter how fast you move, okay? Clarity beats chaos every single time. And sometimes when you go too fast and your speed outruns your capabilities, you break your people. We don't want that. I broke myself, okay? I think as entrepreneurs, no one really talks about it's okay to slow down and make sure that you have decided what game you're actually playing. Okay, so that's why I do things like the solo CEO retreats, where I take myself away 3 times a year for 3 nights each, and I just basically stare at a wall or a fire and vision the next 3 years and make sure that I'm getting the altitude away from the business to make sure we're working on the right things. What I can tell you right now is that I can track back every move in the business that sent us up from the $1 million years to $1 million months back to these solo CEO retreats. Why? Because the altitude that you get from being outside your business is what creates that 10x thinking that is required to grow. It's not the 2x stuff, the shallow work that you're doing probably all day long. The next part of that is making sure that you're doing the achievement roadmap. So this is where we talk to our clients about making sure that you've built that system of where you want to be in 5 years' time, where you want to be in 12 months' time, like the standards, the milestones, and then the reward systems off the back of that. It's so important that we have a map of where we want to be in 5 years' time. And the 12 months, so we know if we're on track or not. Number 2, the second thing that I would tell my younger self is money only solves money probs. I feel like that should be a rap song. There's a famous saying that says, you could have 100 problems in the world, but as soon as you have a health problem, you've only got 1 problem. And trust me, on that morning in 2022, where I was 15 minutes from death, all the problems that I thought I had in the 150 Slack channels that I was in, they weren't the problems. The problem was, am I going to die? So money only solves money problems. $1 million a month feels the same as $1 million a year because money can't fix meaning. That's the biggest thing, right? Money can't fix meaning. If you haven't attached meaning to the money you're making, the impact you want to make broader than just your bank account, you're going to get to a place where it's easy to burn out. That's what happened to me. What matters more is your vision, your culture, and knowing that you're making an impact in the world. Is the problem you're solving making a good impact out there in the world? That's the thing that matters. If you talk about the next thing that I'm going to speak about, which is understanding what the 5 levels of well-being are, you'll understand. So if we draw this as a pyramid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first level is physical. Like I said to you, there's no point having everything if you don't have your health. So you've got to have your health. Physical well-being is super important. Okay, that's your physical health. And now when I say well-being versus wellness, wellness are the inputs. They're like the ice baths, the saunas, the meditating. Well-being is how you feel about your life, your quality of life. So the first thing is physical. The second thing is your mental health, your mental well-being. And that's making sure that you've developed the resilience, the coping mechanisms for the stress of having a business, okay? If you don't have your mental well-being, not much of the rest of this pyramid matters. The third part is your social or your connections. Without this, you feel lonely. And loneliness is actually a really big problem in the world of business ownership. Like, it's pretty easy to feel lonely in business. So I remember when I had my first gym, it was 2014, not making any money. Like, the 6:45 class would finish. At 7:30, people started leaving the class. And I went from this like pumping gym with like people in there and all this like loud noise. All our members thought we were killing it in terms of revenue. Little did they know we were fucking broke. Okay, so when everyone left, I turned off the lights to save some money and I worked in the dark. The only light that I had was like the dimness off the TVs. And the TVs weren't even fancy TVs. They weren't Samsungs or Sonys or LGs. They were like, we bought them from Kogan, I think, just to make sure. They were only $300 each. The cheapest TVs we could find. And I sat there under the lighting of the TV screens being on their screensaver, working in the dark because I was trying to save some money. So I got so fucking lonely. My health deteriorated a lot through that period. So having connections that lift you up, being part of a network with, for thousands of years, we've always wanted to belong to something like a tribe, a village, a corroboree, something. It's because we need connection. Humans are social animals. Now, number 4 is alignment to work and the money. This is what I'm talking about, right? The money only solves money problems because beyond money, you still need to have alignment to what you do. If you don't love what you do, like you and I have both got friends that are in well-paying jobs that they fucking hate their lives, but they're paying them too much. That's called the golden handcuffs. But those people are trapped. And what they've actually done is they've sold their well-being to the corporates that have employed them, right? And I've got too many friends that are in that position right now. They look like they've aged 10 years. And they're not loving it because of the number 5. Now, this is the peak of well-being. Number 5 is purpose and a reason to wake up, which is mission. Why do you wake up every single morning and do what you do? Think about that as a business. Without this, you're prone to getting overwhelmed, stressed out, burnt out. You're going to want to stop because you haven't realised the peak of what we're here to do is actually serve other people. Is to become the best version of ourselves and share that with the world to inspire others. That's the whole point. That's why I would do what I do for free. Is because I've reached this point up here after almost fucking dying over here. Like, I would do this for free. It's kind of why I'm doing this content, because I want to give it all away. That's the point. So if we get to the 5 levels of well-being, what you're able to avoid is the number 1 regret of the dying. The number 1 regret of the dying is that people regret not living a life on their terms. Not living their life. And the reason why that's happened is because they failed to design it. They failed to design it, which is what happens here. And the first step to designing is deciding. So health, mental, connection, wealth, growth. These are the 5 levels of well-being. I would talk to myself about that. Neglect one and the rest collapses. And Harvard's also proved that the CEOs that focus on well-being personally and in the company, they can generate a profit 3 times out of the S&P 500, the average company in the S&P 500. So it's not just good for you, it's good for business. Now, the 4th thing that I would tell myself before I had the heart attack was the 300% rule. Now, the 300% rule is by far one of the top probably 3 things that I can point to that the most successful business owners in our academy right now do differently than everyone else. And that is they sit within the 300% rule all the time, which is 100% clarity, 100% belief, 100% of the time. Now that clarity comes from doing an achievement roadmap and seeing the map of where I want to be in 5 years' time, in 12 months' time, what the daily standards are, the milestones are, and how I'm going to reward myself from hitting each one of those milestones. That's where the clarity comes from. Like, you can't be what you can't see. You can't hit a target that you can't see. So if you say to me, in 12 months' time, I'm going to hit $1 million, I'm going to take my family away. Where? Where would you go? Where would you stay? What would you do? What sort of excursions? Like, where do you want to take the kids? How do you want to feel? And if we've taken you from working 60 hours a week in your business to now you're working 20 hours a week of the shit that you choose to do because you're in your flow zone, I'm going to ask you, like, what do you want to do with your free time? You know, all this freedom that everyone wants. If you got freedom, what would you do with it? Can you see the difference? Rather than just putting down freedom or take my family away. So it's almost like when you're editing your photos on your app, like, and you're cranking up the sharpness and you're just kind of cranking up the saturation. That's what I want you to do with your goals, okay? Now, the belief's got to come from a place of, like back in the day before Osco, if I were to like pay you some money, if I wanted to wire you $100,000 via my mobile app, I would get a receipt on my phone and I'd flick it to you and it would say that like my payment has been submitted, the transfer is successful. I'd show you the screenshot. Now, before Osco, it'd probably need to take 2 or 3 days for it to kind of like land into your account. But you're cruising around knowing that 100 grand is on its way. It's as good as being in your pocket. That belief, like that frequency, knowing that it's actually fucking on the way, is where I need you to sit 100% of the time. Not sometimes, 100% of the time. So that's why 3 times a day, I'm looking at my Power 12, which is the 12 things that I'm going to tick off my list in the next 12 months to put me on track for my 5-year goals. And it is fucking spooky how many of these things have come true. That's also why we do Separation Sunday, right? Every single Sunday. There is a framer for this, which you can download if you go to my Instagram, hey.dozer, and message me Sunday. I'll give you my private training that I only give my top clients. This is where you sit down with yourself for 20 minutes and do a ritual that is a non-negotiable for myself and every single person, every single business owner in my academy. When you keep those 3 things aligned, 100% clarity, 100% belief, 100% of the time, that's when the impossible starts looking predictable. And number 5 is course correct constantly. There's a story called the 2-degree rule. In flying terms, if a plane takes off from LAX and is headed to JFK, right, LA, New York, if they're just 2 degrees off course the entire way, they won't land in New York, they'll land down here somewhere. In business, if we're not continuously course correcting by looking at our forecasts, right, and course correcting every single month, but also doing the Separation Sunday, we're not going to end up at our dream business, we'll end up in burnout. So these are the things that we do every single week and every single month to make sure we're course correcting relentlessly towards the ideal dream life that we're wanting to build, which is fueled by our ideal dream business that has inside our dream team. Because remember, most people crash not because they're going too fast or because they're passionate, but because they stop checking the map. The map is that, the map is that, the map is the Separation Sunday. I nearly died learning these 5 principles. The heart attack was the warning shot. The moment I realized all the hustle and money meant nothing if the business ended up taking my life. So since then, my mission's been simple. I want to help 1,000 business owners, 2,000 business owners build their own $1 million dream business and life they don't need to escape from. That doesn't lead them to burnout. Look, my kids would kill me if I don't say this, but like, comment, and smash the subscribe button. But now that's done, YouTube's pretty smart. It probably knows what you need to watch next.